What's within? Space. Yeah. That's what's in. Right upside down. At any angle. Extreme temperatures. Minus 30 F to 250 F, even if you're alive. Or dead. Underwater, even if you can't breathe underwater. 3 times longer than the average pen. Over Greece. Made in the USA. With United States and global materials. Fisher Space Pen. Read that if you want to. I'm not going to, not right now. Because I need to look at my pen. And what is it? It's upside down. That's what it is. It's the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11. 1969 to 2019. Even though it's not 2019 right now, let's see if it functions. Click. Couldn't wait to draw something. Does it write? It writes. Is it pressurized? I don't know, I guess. Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, this is an update on my channel, as the title might say, and everything. And I just do these usually like once a month for the public, and then I try to do it once a month also for my memberships. Now, one of the things YouTube does is it has analytics, all right? And you can look at it or not, but it gives you some information that you can use or not use or choose to use. And one of them is, it says on mine, it's like with this, I think with most channels, it's like 75% of the viewers of your videos are not subscribed. Now, to me, I don't push subscribers. I mean, I've had my channel for like 3 years. The only subscribers that I try to push, or I would like to push and everything, is my channel memberships. And the reason why I would like to push channel memberships, and I like them and everything, is because, not to make money and everything, but because I do giveaways once a month. Ever since I've had a channel membership, I've done this. It's not always on that month, but I make up for it. Sometimes I'll do it 2 giveaways in a month to make up for the previous month and the current month, and it's always a little struggle and everything. But I base that upon the number of members I have in my membership. All right, so if I don't set my membership high. I only have one tier, which is, like, I think it's $1.99 a month or something like that. And YouTube takes their cut out of it, and there's taxes and all this other stuff that may or may not come out of it. But basically, it breaks it down to where I get about $1 or so per member that I have. I take that money that I get from YouTube for that, and I put it into buying a knife based on the number of members I have. 1-to-1 ratio. So if I got 15 members, I'll get a $15 knife. Now, my commitment has always been, no matter how many members I get, I'm going to stick with that. So if I get 30 members, which is like double what I average have, I'd be getting a $30 knife. And I wouldn't keep it. I would review it. I'd look at it. And then I'd put it up for a giveaway. And that's the way I'm going to try to do it and everything. So that's kind of like for people that have never heard this before and don't understand it, that's what I do. As far as like whether you like my videos or subscribe, yeah, that helps, And if you don't have ad blockers and stuff like that, and you let the videos roll through, that also helps the channel. I mean, I'll get into ways to help the channel if you want to, but that's an update on what I'm doing with giveaways. And I've already ordered the giveaway knife for this month. When it comes in, I'm going to review it. Now, I'm not going to announce in the video title, this is a giveaway, so I don't want to do that to cut down on the bots or the people that join just to satisfy whatever rules are required for the giveaway, and then bam, they're off. They don't really care about knives. These are the type of people that I don't like to do giveaways for. They don't care about knives. All they care about is winning something and making a profit out of it, turning it around and selling it on eBay, or something like that. So they're more like opportunists, you know. And those type of people, if you say, well, you've got to subscribe to my channel, in order to be in the giveaway. Well, all they do is subscribe long enough for the giveaway, and then they unsubscribe. So what have you done, Yeah, your analytics go up and down like this, but your whole purpose of getting subscribers, no, you're not going to get subscribers that way. So my thing is, like I said, I appreciate all the subscribers I have, but I'm not doing a race for the number of subscribers I have. If I have 20,000 subscribers, then I might have more members, is the only way I look at it in my membership thing, and I might do more to give back to people, not to get to me. This is my thing on that. So that's what I'm saying about on memberships, is I appreciate the ones that I have, and because of them, I'm able to do these giveaways. So there's a lot of $15 knives. I'm not complaining and saying, oh, we need to get a higher tier, and get all these other stuff. But when we get up to the higher value, well, then I can do like 2 knives at once, 2 giveaways, let's say it's $30 at a cheaper tier, or I might be able to get into the range of like a less expensive, lower tier case knife or something like that, or whatever, But anyways, on the members, I also talk to my members sometimes where like I said, it's only for members, and I talk to them because it's a small percentage of people, like right now I've got around like 1,800 subscribers, but I got like 15 members, so it's about like 1%. I can talk to them, and I know that basically they care enough about what I'm saying, at least to pay. And you don't have to pay to listen to what I have to say, but to pay to be a member, and I feel like I owe them something. So I tell them sometimes, I tell them stuff, or I ask them, about stuff that I wouldn't put out to the rest of the world, And I also don't run ads on my membership. I'll throw a thing in the end here about members, from a thing that I talk to the members about. But anyways, so that's one thing. Another thing is, and this is in my personal life, I live alone in an apartment, and it's a pet-friendly, apartment complex. They don't have any problem with that. But if you're gonna have a pet, then you've got to have it neutered. You got to have vaccines and everything like that. And there's a lot of expense added to that. Like right off the bat, there's a $300 deposit, for a pet that you've got to put up, and then they're going to raise your monthly rent already. The average people, they say, if you're living well and everything, they say your rent should cost no more than 35% of your income. And they say most Americans are not like that. You know what my rent costs proportional to my income? 75% of my income goes to my rent. And I'm not living lavish. I'm living in a smallest apartment that they've gotten here. It's unfurnished as far as furniture, but it came with a microwave, a dishwasher, a refrigerator, hookups for a washer and dryer, but no washer and dryer, and small square footage. And I'm close to $1,000 a month. They're asking for $1,000 a month for the smallest ones now, but because when I moved in here, my rent has doubled since I've moved in, but I've been here since 2011, so I've been here quite a while in the same apartment, and it's slowly, gone up. Well, I don't have a lot of wiggle room with expenses, so I can't really. I used to have a cat. When I moved in, I had 2 cats. They were fine with that. I did everything, and I had the cats, but they died. And if you've ever had pets and animals and stuff, when they die, it's devastating. Especially like Sparky was the last one that I had, and the other cat was Fat Boy, which my mom called Pretty Boy, but Fat Boy was a black cat, and when Mom died, one of the things she was really worried about, and I can understand, is what was going to happen to her cat when she was dead. She wanted him to be taken care of. And by then, me and Fat Boy got along right away. I mean, at first he was a big history with him. At first she almost didn't get him because I had to move him from New Mexico to here in Texas. Back when my mom moved she used to live in Albuquerque for a while. She moved from there back to Texas, and I moved her furniture, and part of it was I was going to move that cat too. And man, I had a hard time catching him. I almost left him there because he was good at how he didn't want to be caught. But, we kind of bonded, because I drove from New Mexico to Texas with him sitting beside me crying. And it was a good cat. I'm glad that I saved him. So when he died, I mean, that was devastating because I loved that cat too, and he died of old age. And then Sparky, I had, of all my cats that I had 4 or 5 cats indoors, and I was feeding wild cats outdoors. I had a house with plenty of land in the back, no dog, and word gets around in cat world if you're friendly to cats. And so I had all those cats, and I had the strays. Well, when I was going to move back to take care of my mom and be her caregiver, I could only bring 1 cat with me. I mean, she already had Fat Boy there, and they wouldn't allow any more cats. So I had to not get rid of them, but I basically had to leave behind, all the other cats that had been my house cat. I loved them. There was an orange cat I called OG. He was crazy. And another cat that I had called Buddy, another Buddy. He was a tabby. He was a great cat. I mean, there was, like I said, 5, and I had to trim it down to Sparky. Well, Sparky was by far the friendliest cat. She was sweet. And I knew she was going to get along with anybody, in any situation. She wasn't going to be a hassle. So I chose her. But when she passed away, that was the last cat that I had. And that was a few years back, quite a few years back. And after that, I said, you know what? The pain of losing a cat is not worth going through. And then we had new management and other stuff like that. And they started putting in all this stuff that they were going to do, like pet deposits. They had already had pet deposits, but all the, raising the rent and doing all this other stuff. And I thought, you know what? I can't afford it. I'm not going to have one. All right, so we fast forward to Buddy, the Buddy situation. With Buddy, I had a Siamese cat like Buddy at one time once before. And it didn't turn out good in that I tried to do the adoption situation also. I'd been feeding him. I liked him. I don't remember what name I gave him, but I took him to a vet. I had him neutered. They said, he can't run free while he's neutered and everything. You have to put him in a room. I had a spare bedroom. I had a 3-bedroom house. I put him in there, and I think I was still working everything at Intel, so I'd come back after a 12-hour shift, and he tore the place up. He was literally scratching at the windows to get out, digging at the windowsill, scratching at the door. Who knows what kind of noise he made and everything. I didn't want him, to do that and everything. And I thought, you know what? Let me let him out in the rest of the house, let him get used to the house. He immediately wanted to go to the window, to the door. He wanted out. That was it, And I said, okay, I'll let him out. At least he's gotten his shots. He's been neutered and everything. He's healed up by now. I'll let him out. After that, he came back one time, I think, and then I never saw him again. I had a dream that he was running around, and then he just fell over. So, when a cat disappears, and they never come back after you have a dream like that, I don't know if it's a premonition or whatever, but it's like, you can write your own ending into how a cat ended up, And I don't want to think that he died. I want to think that somebody picked him up, kept him, that nothing bad happened to him. All right, so with Buddy, now I saw him about over a year ago, and he was just a cool looking cat, and it was no intention of adopting him or bringing him in or taking care of him or anything like that. It was just like, I've got some cat food left over, or, I can get some cat food. I'll just give him a handful of dry cat food. Because, he was at the gazebo. He'd be there, he's a wild cat. He's already grown, you know. And at first he was aloof. I didn't try to pet him or anything like that. It's just like, here's some food. Well, after a while, he got to where, he knew that I'd feed him, and he would not hang out at the gazebo, but get a little bit closer, like at the bottom of the apartment, complex, on the sidewalk. And eventually I got to where I'd start feeding him down there, wet cat food. Because, dry cat food, a lot of times cats don't get enough moisture in their food to begin with, so you can accelerate kidney problems. And they need a lot of water, and they don't want to always eat it or drink it. Do you hear that? That's Baxter out there. I don't know if you can hear it. It's kind of a mournful little meow and everything. But there are plenty of stray cats, all right? So what's the difference between a cat that you like and a cat that becomes your friend? What is friendship? Friendship with animals and humans is different, but in many ways it's similar. It's a two-way street. You can love, another animal, and if it doesn't love you back, tough. Animals are a little bit more direct about that. So it's a choice process. He chose me to be his human, and I didn't really choose him to be a cat, but it just, he's like my cat, I worry about him, I love him and everything else, but he's an independent cat. So I'd been going along with just thinking, all right, I'm just going to feed him whenever I see him, and that's Buddy, and that's just the way things go. Well, when I injured my ribs and injured my chest, I really hurt myself a lot. I mean, I could have bruised my heart or something, but I mean, I was at the point where I was thinking that I should go to the hospital. If I don't go to the hospital, I'm probably going to die. But I didn't want to go to the hospital just over nothing. And I was feeling pretty down. And when you're feeling down and depressed and you're older and you don't have anybody to talk to and you don't have a pet, you can spiral down to a depression thing, where you're like, oh my God, I might as well get my affairs in order and everything else. And, it sounds silly now because, I'm healing. But, one of the things that happens when you get older is it takes you a lot longer to heal. Well, Buddy had chosen us at that time to disappear. This is one of the things he'll do also, he's been doing, is he'll disappear for a day or two. Now, at first, for almost a year, he didn't miss a meal. As a matter of fact, he started getting to where he would have at least 2 meals. Once in the morning, once at night. He'd show up. He wouldn't necessarily hang around. Sometimes he would, but then he'd go. I call it his McDonald's mode. When he comes in, he eats, and then he runs. All right. So, anyway, he showed up right at pretty much the point where I had resigned myself to not seeing Buddy anymore. Like I said, I was getting depressed. And I wasn't going to heal anymore, and, life just sucked, and you might as well just get over it, not get over it, but just keep going on, just slog on, get through with it, And, he showed up. And when he showed up, he looked like he'd been worse for wear, too. He was moving slower. He's a young, I think he's like a year-old cat or so, but he always been athletic and sleek and fast and nimble, and he was moving like me, like an old man. And I thought, okay, he just had a rough night. And when he came in, he'd been favoring one foot, his left leg, kind of like holding it up. And I thought, okay, he sprained it, or he's got a sticker in it, I won't worry about it too much. Well, he wouldn't put any pressure on it. And I thought, uh-oh. Well, that immediately took my thought about my pain and my concern and switched it over to, now I'm concerned about this cat, And I immediately started thinking about expense. Wow, man, I can't afford a vet for him. I can't afford a vet for myself, And I thought, don't worry about that. See what you can do to take care of him with what you got, you know. So I'd look at him, and I couldn't see any puncture wounds or anything, but he was definitely limping, you know, like three-legged. And I thought, man, uh, I can't, in all honesty, let him just go out there and get attacked again. He can't outrun a car. Whatever got him, you know, he can't climb a tree. So I'm going to keep him inside, and until he gets healed, you know, I'm going to keep him inside. And it's kind of like he knew that too, you know. He knew that was his best for him, because he didn't even try. He didn't even ask to get out. He would basically go and eat, and then try to get up on the chair, but he couldn't get up on the wicker chair at first. But he'd be around, you know, and I'd pet him, and he'd purr and everything. But I could not touch. If I got near that leg and everything, that's the first time he ever like hissed at me or almost bit me, because he went eh, and he did almost like a try to bite at you, you know, like he realized, oh, I can't bite you, you know, but normally I would, you know, anything else I would bite. And so I thought it was like it wasn't his hind leg, it was his knee. I didn't see any sticker, I didn't see anything on his pad and everything, but it's actually like their legs are shaped weird, you know, so the back leg is like this, and then there's a, you know, a flat part up here, and then it comes up and there's a knee. So I thought it was up here because that's what I touched, and he freaked out. But he freaked out on anything on his left side at first, and it's more down to around this end and everything. Well, to make a long story short, his bone is not broken. It was just bruised, and I had been to the point. I mean, this happened this morning. I sat down there with him. I cleaned off a space, and I sat down in a chair beside him, and I had a long talk with him. And I said, you know, buddy, I've resisted making you a house cat or adopting you. I mean, I've already adopted him as a friend, but I didn't want to impede upon his friendship by basically like cutting his nuts off. Now, you know, I looked at it and I read and everything, and they say it's actually good for an animal. It's good for a cat to neuter them for several reasons. One, they're not just spreading other cats all around, you know, so you're cutting down on the stray cat population. Two, it increases longevity and can reduce medical problems that occur with a cat that's not neutered, like urinary tract infections and kidney disease. A lot of stuff, you know, you eliminate if they're neutered. Three, it cuts down on their roaming. You know, they lose that testosterone and hormones, so they're not going to be as interested in girls, and they're going to want to stick around more. So all these work in your favor. Four, if they spray or have sprayed, they're going to reduce the urge of that, because that's a marking territory type of thing. You know, so he's not going to get into fights at 5. He's not going to get into fights, you know, because he's just going to be here. He's not going to get damaged, you know. He can still, things like, you know, it's always like adding up. All right, so what's a disadvantage? Well, money. Well, you know, what I was doing when I was looking at that is I tend to look at the total expense. How much would it cost per year? You know, I add all this up and I go, I can't afford that. Or how much would it cost for all this other stuff? And the way to really approach it is the same way as if you wanted an expensive knife, you know, a Grail knife. You had this knife, but it's expensive. It was, you know, really expensive. Let's say, to me, I mean, again, expensive is a relative term. If you got a lot of money, $300 is not expensive. To me, an expensive knife would be $300. $200 is really expensive. Even $100, but still, let's say $300. It's getting to that point where you're saying, you know what, I don't need a knife that bad. I've got all other kind of knives, you know. And in your head, you're trying to justify it, the expense. Well, if you really want that knife, you don't have to come up with $300 all at once. You can save up. You can set aside. And that's what I was starting to do. I'm starting to do a buddy fund, you know, and I'm not asking for any money on this, you know, like somebody has already donated some money towards that, and I thank you. They're going to remain anonymous, and I appreciate it. But this is a way you can approach a situation like this. Is if you don't have a lot of money, is budget. Set aside, all right, so if the pet deposit is $300, set aside $100 a month. If you can't do $100 a month, $50 a month. All right, it's going to take you a little bit longer the less you set down, but then once you've got that done, that's one increment. That's one thing out of the way. This was also when I went to move my mom's stuff in from New Mexico to Texas. At first, I had a buddy with me from Intel that helped. I mean, we'd finished a shift, a 12-hour shift. He was tired, and we're night shifts, so it was like in towards the day, and he was exhausted. And we hadn't even gotten anywhere near close to finishing that up, and I was going to tow a car with it and everything. And the guy says, "Man, I can't help you. I got to go home." I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks. Thanks for your help and everything." Well, persistence, and this was when I was younger. This was back in 2010, 2011. So I was even younger than I am now. And I said, well, I got to do it, I got no choice. I rented this trailer, and I've got all my mom's stuff, and I've just got to put it in here. It's her stuff. It's going to fit. I just got to get it done. How do you get it done? One box at a time. If you get tired, after one box, take a rest. You're on your break. I had allotted time to get there. I was going to get there. And that's the same way with saving up for a knife or saving up for, a cat. Well, anyways, getting back to the story. So I had this talk with Buddy. And, he's sitting there, he's laying there. He hadn't been complaining. He hadn't been asking to get out or anything. He had asked that day once to get out. And I told him, no, you're not healed and everything. So after having this talk with him, this is hilarious. I'm sitting there, and he kind of gets up casually, and he starts walking, and he puts his best act on, like I'm not hurt. And he's not running, but he walks, and he goes into the living room. So I get up, and I follow him. And I say, "Oh, you want some new food?" Because sometimes it's been sitting there, and he gets picky, So I get ready to open up a can of food. And he walks up towards the door, and he looks at it. And I put the food down, and he goes over and looks at the food and sniffs it, and then he walks back to the door, and he goes, scratches at it, and he goes, meow. And I go, "Well, I told you, you can't go outside. You're an indoor cat." And he goes, meow, meow, and he starts scratching. He's starting to get persistent now, He's standing on his hind leg. He's giving me the whole signal. I go, okay. So my thought is, all right, I'm going to put my shoes on. I'm going to do like I did the last time. I'm going to open the door, and I'm going to show him, yeah, here's the outside. It's cold outside. It's windy. You've got to go down these stairs. Life's not going to be easy. I'm just going to follow you. And when you do your business, I think he's just really, he needs to take a number 2. He has no problem going in the kitty litter box and taking a number 1. I've even got another box. Like I said, the first time when he meowed, I picked him up, took him back there, set him in the box, and he got out of that, and he said, no, I don't want to go in this. So it wasn't, that he didn't have a fresh kitty box. And I don't think it's that he doesn't know how. I think it's that he doesn't feel comfortable taking a dump in here. So my thought, like I said, was I'm going to follow him out, and I'm going to, pick him up when he goes to run away, and I'll bring him back in. Well, you know what? He's not hurt as much now. He can walk, he can move and everything. And he went down there, and he didn't run, but he basically, when he got to the bottom stairs, he ran over there, and there was another cat out there, and he kind of ignored it, and he went over and he took a piss, and then he took a dump, and then he saw me, and he intentionally went away from me. He said, you're not capturing me. Well, you know what? I don't want to hold an animal against his will. I don't want to, I don't want to force a friendship. Sometimes when you say, "Oh, well, I think about this," what you're thinking about is what's best for you. You're not necessarily thinking about what's best for the cat, or if you are, a lot of times it's selfish reasons. It's what's good for you. What do you want, And so at that point, I thought, you know what? I'm going to let him go. So he went down, and he made a right. Well, this was at nighttime, and I had my headlamp on, so I walked out. And I just wanted to see where he's going. And he went to the east parking lot where, by where my Jeep is. And he started going out towards the grass. And I said, well, maybe he just needs to take a dump out here. And he went by that Mustang, like it's his car. And he was sitting by it, and I go, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" And he kind of scrunched down, but then he realized from my voice that it was me. But still, he went under the car, to get away from me. I said, all right, that's it. buddy, you're going to be pissed that even that I'm kind of like chasing you down and trying to catch you. So I'm just going to let you go. And that's where I am with Buddy on this. I do want to adopt him in the future. I am setting aside money, to do that if it works out that way. But he no longer needs my help as far as like healing. And he always will probably need food and stuff, and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to take care of him. But today, I heard Baxter out there meowing, and I thought, well, I've got some extra Buddy food, and Buddy won't be back for a few days. I've really written it off, like now that he's gotten out, inside for a few days healing, and it's helped him. But he's an outdoor cat. He's a wild cat. He born to be free. And that's the way he feels, and that's the way it's going to be with him, I guess. But I went and put some food down for Baxter, and guess who there was behind me, walking up from the east side of the parking lot. And this is like 2 or 3 in the morning now, Buddy. And he follows me up. And he comes up, and he eats his food, and what does he do afterwards? He goes back to that spot and lays down. He wants to be in here. So I'm not saying I'm never going to adopt him. The first step I'm going to do is number one is try to get him his rabies shots and get him, a checkup. And if you're going to do that at the same time, it's cut his nuts off. To get him neutered. So, that's a big step. But once I get the money set aside for that, if the situation arises, then I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to, sometimes you have to, I know this is not like, you can't always think of them as humans also. Like, well, how could you capture a person and mutilate them, and keep them prisoner? Well, it's not the same. They're animals again, but, they're more than animals too. So that's the situation with Buddy. Now, I'm sorry it took so long. And then, this is going to take a long time to upload this video and everything else. But I just wanted to say I've got other things I'm going to, review. I got this power bank and I got the space pen. But I wanted to get that out of the way because I know there are some people that think, well, you should adopt them. And then there are some people, I can tell whenever I'm talking about a cat, videos get a thumb down. Now, I don't care, whether you like cats or dogs or you don't like cats or dogs. It's part of my life, It's part of my life here is this cat. And as long as he's in my life, I'm going to talk about him occasionally. I might not do what you would do if you had a cat, but, it's financial reasons. Like I said, when I could afford it, I made sure they had all their shots. I took care of them. There's no problem. You've got to be able to afford to take care of an animal, too. It's a two-way street. And if you can't afford to take care of them, you're better off, I think, just letting them go, letting them, you take care of them as much as you can, but if you can't take care of them, you don't have a right to mistreat them, So, anyways, I'm not mistreating him, but there you go. So, there you go. That's a long-winded one. That's my channel update. Stay tuned for the next giveaway that's coming up. This is not it. It's only going to be open to lower 48, but that's the way it goes because of knife laws and shipping costs. So, thank you for watching and have a nice day. It's okay, bud. It's okay, kitty.